do you guys want to go around and just say hi and start introducing yourselves in whatever order you feel comfortable? If you want to introduce yourself, and if you want to turn on your screen, you can. We are going to record the meeting, so if you want to keep your screen off or change your name or something like that, go ahead and do that if you prefer. But yeah, you want to start with Jasmine and we'll just go around and introduce ourselves?
Sure. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry. My name is Jasmine Outlaw. I am the Executive Director for the Rockaway Youth Task Force. I'm really happy to be here to share and learn. Am I supposed to pass it to someone?
Oh yeah, why don't everyone just pass it along?
Oh, okay, cool.
That would be awesome.
I'll pass it to Cecilia.
Thanks, Jasmine. Hi, everyone. My name's Cecilia, she, her. I'm the education director at Move Texas. We've been using Crew for about a year now, so super excited to be here with y'all. And I'll pass it over to Sylvia. Is that how you say your name? Okay.
Thanks, Cecilia. My name is Sylvia. I work with Euphrates Institute. We're a peace building organization, and we've been working with Crew. Tell us, I don't even know how long, but for a long time, and super grateful for everything, of all the support and community of it, and really happy to be here. So thank you. And I will pass it to Dottie.
Hi, my name is Dottie Frommel. I'm here in Nelsonville, Ohio. I actually don't know anything about Crew. I got this invitation and it sounds so interesting, so I'm just here to learn today. And nice to meet you all. And I pass it to Talis.
Great. Hi. Great to meet you, Dottie, and everyone. My name is Talis. I'm the executive director for Crew, and I'm really happy that we are all together. And thank you, Cecilia, Suparna, and Jasmine for sharing with all of us today. I pass it to Suparna.
Hey everybody, my name is Suparna. I use she, they pronouns. I'm the co-director at CoFED, which is the Cooperative Food Empowerment Directive, and Talis has been wonderfully leading and supporting our work in so many ways and guiding us through, putting our curriculum online very patiently for about at least 2 years now, and really incredible to work with. So I'm really excited to meet this community and to be here and to learn with all of you.
Awesome. Anybody else want to just say hi who just came in? You don't have to, no pressure. We'd love to say hi. Hi, Marianne.
Hi, Marianne McGrail. I'm interested in learning what you're talking about. I'm going to have to turn off my video. I am paying attention. I apologize in advance.
No worries at all. We get it. Hi, Jess.
Hi, everyone. Very excited to be here. I'm not sure if there were things that we were supposed to say in an intro since I was a little bit late, but I'm the executive director of Y-Corps in San Francisco and really looking forward to learning today.
Awesome.
All of you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Yeah, we were just saying hi. If you feel like saying hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm with Free Forest School. And we just had a big launch today on Crew, so we're really excited. And I've got 3 little kids, so I'm gonna be running around, but I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to say hi too. I'm doing it in my garage, as you can see. Sorry about that. But, yeah, I'm the director of Girls Voices. So we help lead youth through empowering them through digital media creation. And we just did a partnership with a STEM group. So we just completed an initiative supporting young women to highlight how they're changing the world through their STEM initiatives. So that's me.
Awesome. Very cool. Thanks, Brittany.
I'll also be in and out as well, but yeah, thank you for the invitation.
Awesome. Thank you. Katie or?
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie. I am with the Euphrates Institute. We equip and connect and uplift peace builders from around the world. And we just got off of our first inaugural Peace Practice Alliance call for that cohort that just finished their work from last year. So we just connected with folks from all over the world doing amazing peace building work. And I'm super pumped to be here with you all today.
Thank you, Katie. Awesome. Sharon, did you want to say hi?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Sharon, she, hers. I'm with the Up to Us program, and we're a leadership development and civic engagement cohort of students to get them to talk about fiscal and economic topics with their peers. And we've been on Crew for quite a while now, and it's been incredible to put curriculum and content and to get students to connect on that level. So really excited to be here to learn from everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So we're talking about building curriculum for grassroots organizing, civic engagement, and racial justice. And we've got our presenters here, Suparna, Cecilia, and Jazmine, and they've introduced themselves, but I think everyone's going to go around and have a little bit of time to tell us about their organization and their curriculum. So do you want to start with Jazmine?
Sure, I can start.
Awesome, thank you.
So hi, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. I did a little mini slideshow. So make sure I can do this the right way. I practiced before I came. Okay. Are you guys able to see that, or does it look weird? You're good? Okay. So hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Outlaw. I am the executive director for the Rockaway Youth Task Force. We are an organization in the Rockaways comprised of young people between the ages of 14 to 21, I believe. I think we just changed that. We're in the process of also rebuilding a lot of things as well. But we are an organization dedicated to developing politically conscious youth leaders who are invested in improving themselves in the community through member-led campaigns, leadership development, movement building, and cultural expression. That's a little bit about who we are. That's our mission statement. But we are principally comprised of young women of color within the Rockaway Peninsula. A lot of our fight is to build power to secure social and economic racial justice for residents in the Rockaway Peninsula. And, you know, being able to provide them with a space to speak about a lot of issues that are important to them. We live in a community, which I'll get into a little bit later, where there's not a lot of opportunities for folks who live in low-income communities. And the reason that we were started, and I'll go into just our community and who we are, we live in a community in Far Rockaway, so you guys can see here. Most of our members come from Far Rockaway or Edgemere, but the Rockaway Youth Task Force is open to the entire Rockaway Peninsula. I think the reason that we get Far Rockaway and Edgemere most of the time, it is a very low-income community, lots of socioeconomic issues that are taking part in our community, from gun violence, barriers to sufficient healthy food options, lack of hospital facilities, social services. And despite this area being very, very well off in terms of higher income neighborhoods, and it being a really popular tourist destination, there's a lot of individuals in Rockaway who are living in poverty, who are continuing to face a lot of issues within our community, where we really saw that there was a real lack of engagement with young people in regards to civic engagement, which is why the organization was started. Some of our history, we were conceptualized in 2011. So it was literally just a group of kids getting together, upset about what our community looks like and wanted to make a change. It was not anything formal or structured. We were informally activated around just voter registration, mentorship, block cleanups, and just community service. And then in 2013, Superstorm Sandy hit, I believe, in 2012, I'm sorry. In 2012, Superstorm Sandy hit. And it really exacerbated a lot of the issues that we were already dealing with. So the lack of transportation, the lack of healthcare access, the lack of jobs, just lack of opportunities. And it really just exacerbated our situation. And we mobilized hundreds of volunteers to respond to that. So we were doing a lot of hot meal deliveries. We were a part of the CERC team, which is a community emergency response team in terms of natural disasters. It was the first time that something like this had happened in Rockaway. And we really didn't know how to respond to that. And after a while, we were really kind of plagued with the task, like we have all of these young people here. What do we do with them? Because they clearly want to be involved. They clearly want to be a part of their community and want to make change. What do we do with these young people? So in 2013, we formally incorporated as a nonprofit, and we changed our model and we changed our focus. So we were still doing block cleanups. We were still doing civic engagement, voter registration drives, mentorship, things of that nature. But we really got into really holistic empowerment and community development and grassroots organizing. And we became a real huge advocacy organization. So building political power within the Rockaways, in terms of making sure that our young people were a part of the conversation. So we were very instrumental in, we have successfully campaigned to change New York State laws to lower the age of young people to serve on community boards from the age of 18 to 16. So, before we did that campaign, young people were only able to serve on our community boards, which is like an advisory board to the city, if they were 18 years old. And we, have been doing this work for a long time. It's like, there's no reason why we have an education committee on our community board, and someone who goes to school and who's being affected by a lot of these issues can't take part in those conversations. Why is that a process? Why are 70-year-old white men from communities who don't look like us making decisions and giving suggestions to our city council members and our local elected officials about school when they haven't attended school in years, right? So we really wanted to make sure that young people were at the center of our organization. So we began, initiating protests, rallies, marching, and marches, and really just advancing leaderships in our community through education on rights, local politics, and just, other, just being civically engaged within our community. A lot of the times, while they were coming to a lot of these meetings and just being involved within their community, we started to see that we needed to have a program. We need to make sure that we are structuring these young people, because it's not enough for them to, just show up and just be bodies. Like, we need to be able to develop these young people into leaders within our community. We need to make sure that we're providing them with those opportunities. So we went into our programs, right? And we have three different programs within our organization. We have CORE, RAP, and then our Rockaway Roots program, which I'll show you a little later. CORE is how most young people come through the organization. It's a 10-week course, social justice course, that teaches the basics of movement building and advocacy. So a lot of these things, and hopefully I'll be able to share my screen the right way, to be able to show you how we do this through CREW. So CREW has been able to help us because, before we were using groups, we were using, things of that nature. But now we're able to put everything in a central location. So through our core program, our young people are learning about the civil rights movement, the history of Rockaway, local government and civics, campaign development, learning about how do we take the history and the things that we know has happened in the past, turn it into knowledge and understanding, then being able to transform that into different avenues within our community to create change. So our crew platform, we've been able to, can you guys still see this, right? Okay, great. So through Crew, we have been able to put a lot of the things that we were doing on Facebook in one central location. So a little backstory, we have been going through just like an organizational transition. So we did everything pretty much over. Sorry. We did everything over. So this was just a welcome back to the RYTF app, just to engage them again. We have our different community meetings and events and attendance. And then this is where we keep all of our curriculum in terms of what we do. So these are some of the lessons that we go through. It's dominant culture and privilege, power, African-American history, the movement today, base building, where we are teaching young people, how do we base build? Why do we need to build that base? And everything is here, and they haven't gotten to this lesson as of yet. But once they do, they are able to, like you see in here, they're able to go through and, any reflections that they have on the lessons, anything that they've been interested in during the lessons, they're able to put that in. And we're able to have a conversation about that through this app. They're really good with the community meetings and attendance. So this was our first work day that we had, little introduction to it. And, all of them have posted just, things that they have done throughout the garden, little facts about themselves, just to introduce themselves to the app. And they really love it. They really do. And I do have some of our young people who are actually, helping me maintain this app. So they love being able to just go in here and do their thing, while also just being able to be a part of the organization. So Crew has been tremendous. And I think I had a conversation with Talis maybe a week or two ago where she actually helped me figure out how can we track their volunteer hours. So now there's a whole track for them to actually track their hours and stay up to date on everything. So there's a whole section with just log your volunteer hours. So whenever they come in, they're able to, do it on their own. If they, did 2 hours on the farm, if they did 1 hour at the farm, and this all goes into a lot of our organizing work that we do through our Rockaway Roots project, our community organizing and resistance education. And our Rockaway Roots program, which is our program that is currently running now. It's the only program that we have. It's a 9-month apprenticeship where 20 youth are paid to run our urban farm. So they're in there, tending to the chickens. They're also in there learning how to plant, learning how to garden, learning how to farm, right? Because in our community, we are a federally labeled food desert. There are no restaurants that are close to us. There are no, healthy food options out here in our community. Especially since COVID, we have really been affected heavily in terms of just food access. And our farm definitely provides us that access to be able to provide fresh fruits and vegetables for our community members. And yeah, I mean, that is RYTF in a nutshell. I'm sure that folks will have more questions and I'm happy to answer. But, this is how we use Crew. It's been really successful so far. A lot of our young people, like I said, love using it. They love helping us and all of that. So I'm hoping that you guys got a little sense of us, and I'm sure you guys will have more questions at the end. But if you absolutely want to keep in touch with us, again, my name is Jazmine. My email is there. I'll also leave it in the chat. There's our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so you can follow us. And everything that I mentioned today is also on our website as well. So,
thank you so much, Jasmine. That was fantastic.
thank you.
Yeah, we'll have some time at the end, guys, to ask questions and just kind of chat. But let's go ahead and hear from Cecilia about y'all's program and your platform.
Well, thank you, Erin. I will share my screen here as well. All right. Well, in a way to be like positively disruptive in a practice that we have at Move Texas, before starting our presentation, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that we are occupying stolen Indigenous land, acknowledge that the US was founded on mass genocide, slavery, and oppression, honor that where we are today is the result of a commitment of our ancestors to advocate and fight for a better life, and to honor that the work that we're doing today is foundational and that every contribution matters. And this is a way that we open up all of our spaces at Move Texas to just disrupt the narrative that we're really working to shape here. So I think Jasmine did a great job about talking so much about your organization. And today I won't go as deep about all of the badassness of Move Texas, but more so about CREW and the specific programs that I oversee. So Move Texas stands for Mobilize, Organize, Vote, and Empower, is one of the most impactful voter registration organizations in the country, working only at the statewide level. And Move started as a student organization at UTSA back in 2013 from an ambitious group of just young students who knew that more people would have a greater impact in their community if they voted in the mayor election that was like coming up. And basically, due to their work, they were able to get the mayor that they wanted in place, who is the current mayor still today, which is really exciting. Since then, we've really grown to be this huge organization. In 2015, we became a local nonprofit in San Antonio. By 2018, we started going to Austin and San Marcos. And now here we are, 2021. We are actually in 11 cities total, covering over 75 college campuses, looking to expand a lot of different types of programs that we run, all centered on the areas of civic engagement, primarily through voter registration and voter education and mobilizing voters, issue advocacy, which is then moving those people to be mostly involved on the local level. And also right now we're working with the Texas State Legislature, which if you're following is a messy show all the time. And then leadership development, which is housed in the education department under me, but is really a duty of all of us across the organization. So through our youngness, Move is primarily made of young people who were in our program and were promoted to staff, which is really exciting. So we are truly young people leading young people, which is really exciting for us. So we are a grassroots, nonpartisan, nonprofit power building youth organization. And I put these 3 tiers here because these are kind of our 3 big buckets of our programs right now. And that is increasing voter access, and engagement, like I said, through our field organizing work, through our issue advocacy work, building lifelong voters, because we know that when people vote earlier and more often, they're more likely to be a voter for their entire lifetime. And then coaching and mobilizing young change makers. And we're doing this all because we need more young people to vote. We need to advance more progressive policies. And overall, we want to advance a more progressive ecosystem for Texas, which is really our sweet spot as an organization. We just underwent our strategic plan, and we know that people come to Move Texas because they see young people who look like them, who are scrappy and hustling to make change for their community. So we're not the place for necessarily poli-sci majors or people who want to be involved in government. We are the place where people know that they're frustrated, know that they want to be involved and really want to join a community that can understand that and introduce them to stepping stones to get involved, which is really exciting. So we primarily serve young people, which we consider people under the age of 30. And in Texas, we are a really big state. We also know that there's a lot of power that comes with this demographic, with 43% of Texans being under the age of 30 and 63% of those being Black, Indigenous people of color. So when Move started as a nonprofit in 2015, there was 2 full-time staff people and 2 paid fellows and 2 unpaid interns. And last year in 2020, we had our largest programming yet, really expanding program opportunities to every section of the organization, at the program front, but also on the administrative side, acknowledging that we need young people to be, involved in data, to be involved in operations, to be involved like with executive director. So we're really excited now to have young people at every like intersection of the organization. And now we're also in a critical moment where we're thinking, well, how do we like formalize our scrappy curriculum that we know is like good and it works, but how do we scale that up so that it's a lot more accessible for everybody who's like interested to get more like equal like attention in a way. And Crew came to us at just the right time where we were able to use the platform before the pandemic like hit. And then since the pandemic, it's really been like the way that we've been able to operate, specifically our civic leadership program, which has traditionally been our largest scale program, about like 30 people. And last year we made a really tough decision to scale it down to 10. And that's because we were going to do it remote. We knew that we needed to give people the attention that they deserve. And so we used Crew as a way to really make sure that we were following through with what we call like our educational pedagogy, which follows Paulo Freire. Highly recommend Pedagogy of the Press if you haven't read it yet. But really utilizing our spaces to be a place where young people get to ideate and lead and like evolve their own critical thinking in our spaces. So with Crew, they are responsible for like independent work. Because I tell them in our sessions, like, I'm not there to teach anybody anything. We're there to facilitate conversation and dialogue. And through the Move platform, about a third of their entire fellowship was like independent work so that we could have higher impact sessions for them to lead. So it is an essential tool. And we see that this model changes us from this way of like banking education, where it's just like one way, like I'm telling you this, take it, repeat it, run with it, to a way that's creating like a greater sense of like consciousness and critical thinking with our folks. So it really changes the power dynamics that we think about in any type of like programmatic space, or like in a job in this case, because they're getting paid. And through working through the curriculum on Crew, we get to center like dialogue, independence, and problem solving together as like co-conspirators. Another piece that I wanted to advocate that is like part of our work that we've really been committed to in the past 2 years, but especially in this year with COVID, is like healing justice. And we're working to build some larger curriculum for this with our organization, working in partnership with an organization called Listening Works. Highly recommend checking them out. And this is an organization that is like strictly centered on like bringing the story of like love, community, and joy and healing to our work, acknowledging that like in the end, that is like what we are fighting for. And so through kind of these just different intersections of partnerships, we're able to center like laugh and play into our work, listening practices, healing practices, and strengthening national partnerships. And I'll just demo some of the fun like modules that we have here. First, let me show you just our landing page, if it goes. So here you'll see our fellows have like one topic per week to work through. Is there a slide for this? Maybe not. Okay, yeah, here. Let me show you this slide first. So our civic leadership program is really centered on 3 phases. Phase 1, we call identity-based leadership, which is all about like, what does it mean to be who I am and how I show up in a space, like as a young person of color, as a young queer person of color, because when we get to tackle that, like we get to just show up more freely in any space. So we read How to Be an Anti-Racist, we read Pedagogy of the Press, to really start just thinking and being comfortable with ourselves in this space, because then we can build trust and community. And then we can start to think more critically about like democracy. And then we go into phase 2, which is we call like Decolonizing Democracy, which is understanding the like roots of racism and everything that has to do with democracy. So like the census, voting, like anything, for a country that is founded the way that we are, like this is the reason why it is so hard to organize today. And so we really want to be able to help young people understand that and name that, so that we feel affirmed and really understand like what we're up against, like hundreds of years of racism. And then as we transition into phase 3, we really work to increase ownership with folks, really building on like facilitation skills, so that by the last third of the program, essentially the fellows are self-operating the entire space. So they are the Zoom host, they are the like running the presentation screens, they're leading the dialogues to debrief all of the crew curriculum. So it's been a really successful, this has been the second semester that we've been able to use this 3 phases, and just to see the confidence grow is really exciting. And then we have a weekly intention, as I said, where we introduce a topic and we really empowered to self-educate and then apply through like actively working on 3 activities for every session that we have, so that we are keeping young people engaged virtually, which is like so hard. And so then the major parts of like the curriculum are like our weekly topic and our group sessions, our independent crew learning. They have to do like so many hours with the field team, like calling voters. And then we do like regional committees, which is even smaller, like intimate work. So a quick demo of our space here. Here you'll see like the 3 different, or you'll see the different like modules that we have. So it's 1 topic per week, which is really exciting. Definitely acknowledging that there's overlap in all of these topics. But really building this sense of identity of what it means to be involved in like civic engagement, what it means to be part of a legacy of so many people who have paved the way for us, and for people to start to dialogue about what that looks like. So we set up just like a little blurb for people to like get started, and then we give them some assignments, and then they have to like, we really believe in like multiple ways of learning. So it's like you watch a video, you watch a documentary, you listen to a song, like you get to like experience some artwork, and then people have to like respond before our sessions start. So this is just a really fun, it's been really fun, and it's also been like really personal, because by the end we like really want to make sure that we know each other in different ways. So we get like goofy with it, you know, it's like, hey, give us your testimonial and then show us a picture of someone who makes you happy, or like something that makes you happy. And we just like get to like do things that are like we wouldn't often like get to do in a workspace. And we really think it's important to have that be part of this learning experience as well. So that's us in the Crew platform.
Wow. Wonderful again. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, let's see. I know everyone probably has a lot of questions, and yeah, this is wonderful. Suparna, do you want to go ahead and get started, and then we'll get to talk and chat and ask our questions?
Yes, sounds good. I'll just start sharing my screen. Let's see. Can y'all see that? Oh, my screen just froze, so. Or I froze, one of them.
I can see it.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Cool. Okay, so here we go. So, hi everybody again. I'm Suparna Kudesia. I'm the choreographer for Collective Change at CoFED. We are just like Jasmine's organization. We are also about 10 years old. We started in 2011. And we started on the campus of UC Berkeley, where a bunch of students got together because they didn't want a certain restaurant to open on campus. And they said, we want these healthy food options. I think there's a lot of like racial and other coded language and like healthy food options and what that means. Our origins were, a bunch of mostly white men, white cis men. And we evolved quite a bit since then. 10 years ago, we were mostly on college campuses, and we were supporting co-ops, food-based co-ops to start on college campuses across the country. So we've helped start about 40 food-based co-ops around the country. And then in 2016, when 45 was elected, we essentially decided that we needed to put our money where our mouth was. And we were like, okay, our audio is not matching our video. We're talking about food justice and racial justice. And we're talking about all of these different intersections of justices, and we're not actually doing like the community work that we want to be doing. So we shifted our focus from campus groups to working in the community. And in 2018, we made a pivot in our mission where we only work to support young queer, trans, Black, Indigenous, Asians, Pacific Islanders, Latinx youth from poor and working class backgrounds. And we work anywhere across the food system. So anywhere from food, so like any food production kind of work, so seed to the table, to like grocery stores, to restaurant workers, to bus line workers, and then all the way to compost, so waste management. So anywhere across this axis is where we work. We believe in the solidarity economy. We believe in the power of cooperatives and the power of worker co-ops to be able to shift and transcend what we identify as late stage capitalism. And what we're seeing in so many ways is sort of the downfall of community and like this repair economy that is building up. And we also believe in the intrinsic and amazing, brilliant wisdom of Black and Indigenous communities, especially around the country, because and in the world, because cooperation is not just an economic tool, it's also a way of life for many of our communities and many of our people. So that's what we do. We do this through a variety of means, mostly through providing educational support, which is why CREW is incredible. And we also provide folks with technical assistance, as well as, for the first time this year, financial assistance. We just launched our very own granting fund. So that's what we do. At CoFED, my specific role is we just decentralize our leadership, which I'm super stoked about. I've been pushing for this for a really long time, because that's my one contribution to dismantling the nonprofit industrial complex here, is to really be able to think about how do we decentralize and like remove hierarchies that are really just imposed on us. So we have 3 co-directors, and I'm the I'm the choreographer for collective change. And mostly what I do is use a reparations framework to really return stolen wealth back into the hands of Black and Indigenous and Latinx and Asian and Pacific Islander folks. That's my job at CoFED. I'm also an educator by training. I'm also a doctoral student learning more about decolonial education. So education is my passion, which is why I love my conversations at Talis every time we have them, and I get really excited about what the potential of what CREW is doing. And I'm like, I don't even want to say anything else about CoFED right now, because I'm so inspired by what I just heard from Cecilia and Jasmine. But I do want to share some of the things that I'm really proud of, and not more about myself, but more about the people who are really doing incredible work. So here goes. So really what we do is, like I said, support this, group of people around the country who are doing this work. These are just some of the examples of the communities that we work with. And I'm really excited that this is the first year that we're also working with someone in Hawaii, and we're working with folks in also in Canada. But we really, the food system across the US, Jasmine, you talked a little bit about this. It's just, what is even a food desert, right? Like it sounds like a natural phenomenon, but what really happens here in this country is food apartheid, and like really like changing the way our food is distributed, grown, what we are exposed to, how our communities have access to food, etc. And so it is really about disrupting the way the food system traditionally works. And that's what we support young cooperators to do. So folks will come to us and say, we're really interested we're collective and we grow food together. And we want to think about like, how do we form this entity type that's a co-op? We want to be our own bosses. Or we are a nonprofit that really is interested in working cooperatively. How do we do that? So that's what we support folks with. Some of the people in this, some of the groups over here that you'll see on this map, they are Mandela Grocery Co-op, which is a worker-owned grocery store in Oakland and on Ohlone land. And then there's also, for instance, Common Healing, which is also started an arts and retreat center for BIPOC youth in rural Tennessee. We also have the Harriet Tubman Freedom Farm based in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, that's leading a lot of work around, educational work on the land and really bringing together like Black elder genius in the South. And so this is just like a little bit of like the folks that we work with and we're constantly inspired by. And I'll tell you a little bit more about really through this, what we're trying to build is a regenerative, transformative cooperative food system. And food, it's an inalienable need and right for all people, but really how it's, the communities that like actually have access to what I think a food industry now calls healthy foods. We're being kind of mindful and critical about who grows it. But then we also think about food as medicine. Like, what does food do for our bodies? What does food do for our communities? And, you know, how come communities that are growing soursop have never tasted it before? What does that really look like for our kids? So I want to share a little bit more about our programs here. These are just some of the programs that we lead at CoFED. Most of them are kind of educational in nature, and some of them are more broadly moving in the space of non-extractive financing and non-extractive rebonding. So BUD is our flagship co-op education program. It's designed usually as an in-person course, but last year, because of COVID, we had to move it online. And so it stands for Build, Unlearn, Decolonize. We take participants through a 5-week program, really sort of talking about, you know, what are the components and, you know, structures of starting your own co-op, why co-op, what does it mean to build resilience within capitalism? What does it mean to center Blackness and indigeneity in your communication efforts and who you are and how we understand the food system? And then we have Cocoon, which is our communications incubator, which we launched this year. It stands for Cooperatives Creating Our Own Narratives. We're really excited. We got a grant to actually be able to, oftentimes like the stories that are told about our communities are deficitized. Like it's always like, you know, stories of struggle and loss and grief. And that's really real. The trauma that we experience and our communities experience is real. I also feel like there are stories of resilience and joy and love and laughter and brilliance. And those are the stories we want to highlight in the cooperative spaces that we're trying to do through Cocoon. And then we have CoFund. We just raised a seed capital fund last year through complete like grassroots fundraising, and 2 philanthropists who were like, here's some money and we want to regrant it. And so we said, great, because we're just going to launch a regranting fund. This is good timing. So we were able to redistribute all of it among 13 different co-ops that we just dispersed. And we will also be providing the co-ops with 12 months of technical assistance that's individualized based on what they want. And then there's Mycelium, which is has a different spelling here. It's based on sort of the mushroom magical being that exists under the ground, Mycelium. But we made it cute with a YUN because we do food justice work. And it's a national network of young queer, trans, Black, or Indigenous and/or people of color cooperators around the country. And last year we were able to develop an app. So that's what we're trying to launch and get everybody on this like platform that I'm hoping to connect the crew as we keep growing. And then one thing that we've been noticing a lot in the wake of the Fed uprisings that began last year, and I think just general kind of a little bit of a shift in the general conversation around what does it mean to be an accomplice, etc. We had a lot of white allied folks and white folks reach out to us and say, you know, like, you have these resources on your website and they're so dated, like anti-racist resources. And I feel like really the conversation has to move beyond like not just anti-racism, but like active accomplishment. Like, what does it mean to work towards collective liberation? Like, we need to have these awkward conversations for light-skinned people of color like myself. Like, what are we gonna give up so we can all be free? And so those are the types of conversations we're designing in this workshop, where we're really, you know, trying to see how in the ways in which white supremacist culture infiltrates and like permeates our work. And when we talk about racial diversity, what does that really mean? So we're offering this 4-week training program within the food system to food system leaders, called INWARD, which stands for Integrating White Accomplishment into Racial Diversity. And then we have the Racial Justice Fellowship, which is what I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about over here. The Racial Justice Fellowship is a 6-month-long individualized fellowship for individuals who are working within a co-op, and they want to sort of take their, you know, a project within the co-op or something to the next level. So the 3 folks you see in the pictures, these beautiful, radiant people, in this slide are the fellows who just graduated from our fellowship. And so there's Brianna, who started a farmer's market on Ohlone land in Oakland, California, on the grounds of an elementary school. that they went to as a child. And they did this through, we provide them with a stipend, but we also provide them with like individualized technical assistance of like, what do you need? How do you want to do project planning? So it's mostly like a leadership fellowship, thinking about project management, what skills do you need? How do you budget? How do you plan? How do you network? How do you create this thing from scratch and all the way to what you want it to be? And then there's Yadi, who is based out of Chicago, who who works at a cooperative farm that we actually helped launch through the Racial Justice Fellowship a few years ago, Tumbo Farms. And then Yadi is a farmer there and wanted to build something where folks could grow food year round, especially like through a Chicago winter, and created like a grow kit, an indoor grow kit that they sourced, they prototyped the design for, etc., and did lots of cool innovations around. So that was really exciting to watch. And then there's Maya, who's based in Brooklyn, who does a lot of education work, is a farmer, a gardener. But what we supported them with through their Racial Justice Fellowship was a building of a curriculum called the Deep Roots Curriculum, which is based on Afro-Indigenous wisdom around foodways and food practices. And it's incredible. It's provided to educate. It's like what Crew, what y'all are doing, what CoFED is doing, what Crew is doing, but like to in the food world. So I'm super excited to see where they go. And just a little bit more on like context about like, why this work, why this is so important right now. I don't think I have to convince a lot of you, but I think also just to like say in the cooperative space, really, the majority of workers are Black, Indigenous, Latinx folks, and or Asians, Pacific Islanders who are doing this work in the cooperative spaces. The cooperative food sector in the US is actually very small relatively compared to the global cooperative sector. But I think it really just shows when we think about land and like food or growing food or accessing food, that by 2012, 98% of land that was owned by Black folks was lost. And so they, today, the percentage of Black Americans who actually own land is very, very low. And the reasons for this is many, but I think a lot of it is like just like so many layers of bureaucracy that are entrenched in white supremacy, that are entrenched in like institutional and structural racism when it comes to accessing resources. And we work with farmers, we work with co-op developers, we work with the USDA, and we unify all of these networks. And sometimes we still get confused when we see something or we see like a land purchase order, like what does this even mean? Like, how do you even navigate this in this legalese? So really the goal for us is to how do we decolonize the way these systems work for the folks who are really on the ground, and just to be able to like I said, like return stolen wealth and stolen land back into the hands of the folks who are doing this kind of work. Just wanted to say these are some of our favorite people in our programs that we work with, and these are two cooperatives based in New York, but this is when we all met for our in-person co-op education program 2 years ago. And that's really our goal, is to really build a food system that's transformational, that's just, and we see the urgency in it, and that's what we do. Here's some of the information about us and how you can contact us, but I did want to share a video if there's an opportunity. If I have 4 more minutes, is that okay, Erin?
It looks like we only have 10 minutes left. If you,
I'll put a link out, and then if y'all want to see, it's Yadi, one of the folks who graduated from our Racial Justice Fellowship program. It's a video about sort of like their fellowship experience, and so really like that is what I would share with all of you and leave with all of you is the Crew platform has really helped us conceptualize a scope and a sequence for the Racial Justice Fellowship. And I hope I have the opportunity to also share a few more lessons I've learned working with Crew so far. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you so much, Suparna. I am going to put all of any information you guys want to share will be in the Crew platform in a track that I'll it'll be available for everybody to see along with this video. So you can send it over, Suparna, and I'll put it there too, and you can put it in the chat too. But we've got 10 minutes left, and I wanted to see if anybody had any questions, or you can like raise your hand with your little button, or put it in the chat, or just unmute yourself and ask.
I have a question for the other folks. How many people, so right now we're only working with like one program and it's small so that we can like learn more before we bring on other programs. How many people like right now engage with your platform, and how is that going, like learning curve wise, for Jasmine or Suparna?
I guess a little bit with me, because I came in to the organization after a huge power vacuum, right? So a lot of our people who were here before aren't here anymore. So just trying to relearn this entire system. But so the way the organization works, just to give a little bit a background, folks are either members or they're organizers or they're a part of the Rockaway Roots program, and there's a progression there. So there is a base of young people who are just members. So they haven't decided to take that next step to actually organize with us, but they still like to be around. They still want to be involved with our organization. So we do have a section just for them, but they're able to see all of our events. They're able to, and we have folks who are dedicated, who are organizers, who are dedicated to keeping in contact with those young people, just to keep them engaged. So maybe one day they come to an event and they're just like, you know what? I'm going to go through your core program, and I'm actually going to be more involved. I'm not just going to show up to a rally. I'm not going to just show up to, your farm dinner. I'm actually going to be involved. But, it is taking some time to kind of rebuild all of that. But for the most part, we do have, I want to say there's about 60 or 70 members who are just members right now, who, we just keep working on them and, keep them engaged, keep them involved, and let them know. And whenever there's opportunities for them to engage with our organizers and like be a part of something, we just keep them involved.
Thank you.
I guess I'll ask everyone, all three, what are you thinking about summer events that normally you would have held in person? Are you guys getting ready to come back to stuff in person, or are you still holding online or hybrid models for the summer? I guess Cecilia, how are you guys?
Yeah, so we just had our first staff in-person event in over a year, about 2 weeks ago. And so we're starting to do some more like in-person work, and know that we will be basically like full out by the fall, but as many just like entities this time, like we know that we can do this work like hybrid, and some of our positions will just stay remote. Mine will stay like remote basically because I oversee a statewide program. And so they'll do some things in person with other staff in Houston and Dallas and Laredo. But then our fellowship cohort will stay, or our leadership curriculums, elements of it will still be like virtual, which is really cool because I think for us, like working across the state, an entire state, there's a lot of solidarity in knowing that this community and also this struggle and these like barriers and these successes exist like in all of the places in the same spirit. I think that brings us here today of like cross movement work. So by working on the statewide level, we are able to like leverage that as well for momentum.
Nice, thank you. How about you guys, Suparna?
We are not planning to be in person until at least the fall. We have definitely noticed it's an access thing also, like just in terms of care and, thinking about it from a disability justice point of view. There are still people who are sometimes mistrustful of like even what's happening and things like that. And then also, I think there's just so much, this is growing season. So a lot of people are very busy in growing season and thinking about harvest and things like that, and making those plans. So we're waiting till the fall to see what the situation is. We're proceeding with online curriculum this year.
Yeah. So, we here are doing a little bit of a hybrid model. So a part of our work right now and our programs that are being ran right now are actually being ran from our urban farm. So we're able to maintain, the social distance and all of the COVID precautions in order to be able to do a lot of the work that we do. We are trying to figure out once we, because we do have our core sessions, which is the introductory to the organization, that is supposed to be starting at the end of the summer, beginning of fall, just how we're going to do that and how we're going to make sure that, because normally, that's a session with around maybe 20 young people from the Rockaway. So really trying to figure out how can we keep that as engaging through Zoom and online, or is it possible that we could, maybe have something in person? But it's really just something we're just kind of like Suparna, we're just trying to figure out what's best for us. But for the moment, we are doing a bit of hybrid for our work.
Awesome, thank you. So I have one more question, guys, and we just have a couple minutes, so maybe everyone can take a minute to answer. Do you have what would you say to anyone who's trying to build grassroots curriculum with your 5 years or you guys have all been there from the ground up, I think. So do you have just a little takeaway or a little this is my golden advice, or this is the thing that we failed at the hardest and we figured it out and then it worked, something like that. And we'll go backwards, Jasmine, Suparna, and then Cecilia.
Oh, okay. So yeah, really quick. I think when you're thinking about just developing curriculum, especially when it has something to do with youth, making sure that their voices are centered, right? Making sure that every conversation that you have with them, it is around things that are personally affecting them, affecting their communities. And making sure that when you say that you're going to, develop a curriculum around them, make sure they have some sort of input in what they want to learn, right? We don't want to just teach them things that we want to teach them, but have an interest. Like before we developed our curriculum and before we got involved with, developing out what we wanted to be able to have in our programs, it was a conversation with a lot of our members because we are an organization that is, for youth by youth. So we had to make sure that, what are some things that you guys wanted to learn? What are some things you want to know more about? Community organizing and base building, and why is that important? Like, what are some things that you want to learn? And then building a curriculum based off of their thoughts and opinions and things that they care about. And we're constantly just revamping our curriculum as well, especially in the next coming, weeks, just understanding that in our curriculum, we also need to put in there the highlight about being able to rest during these times of injustice. Like we can't always be angry. Sometimes we do need to take a step back and take self-care. So that is definitely something that I want to encourage when you guys are developing your programs and curriculums.
Wonderful, thank you. Suparna?
I love that. I love that rest is built into as a form of resilience. I think mine would be silly and practical in the way of always have a plan, create a scope and sequence. I would say stay in touch with the crew team. They're incredible, generous and brilliant. So that would be my takeaway.
Thank you.
I would say mine's very similar to what Jasmine shared, I think, in the sense of shared ownership, right? That doesn't mean the same level of responsibility by any means. But actually by the last 4 weeks of our program, we had fellows choice. So it's what topics didn't we cover? Y'all tell me and actually y'all lead it, and to the point where they actually built the material that went into crew. So that was super exciting because by that point, they know what the format is, they know what it is. And so putting the ownership, or rather sharing ownership with them, that they were doing each other's crew modules, was really, really cool. And I would say too, is this conversation of justice is the work that we're doing, right? And so incorporating that language and that mentality and that spirit in all that we do and not like standalone, modules and things like that. So.
Thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Thank you Cecilia, Suparna, Jasmine. Thanks everyone for being here. Y'all can pop out now if you want, and if you have just a minute, we can talk if you want to chat. But I'll put this video and any links that anybody wants to share, and even like emails if you guys want to just share your emails with each other, we can share that too. So alrighty guys, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Right. Thank you. It was great meeting you, hearing about y'all.
Thanks so much, guys.
Take care.
Everybody take care.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good weekend.